So it's the Bro Cam here with Richard from Signal Stuff and HamStudy and Ham Exam Tools. And you were telling me about this new book you have?
Yeah, so this is the HamStudy Technician class handbook. We have, in paper, we have the large print and the regular print versions. They're actually all paperback, the spiral bound's just what I have here. But this is also available online for free on handbook.org. I built this basically, I have so many people who, they try to use HamStudy, everyone tells them, hey, you can use HamStudy, just get ready for your license, that's all you need. And that is technically true, but for a lot of people, especially if they don't have a lot of technical background, you drop them in and just start asking questions, and they're like, what the heck is this? This makes no sense, I don't know what I'm talking about. And so I wanted to provide something that provides a little bit of context. I borrowed a layout from a class that a local ham in Utah County, Noji, uses, and he gave me permission to use that. The first half of the book is about the science behind amateur radio. The second half is the person behind amateur radio. So, you know, for all the people that you may have talked to that are like, oh, I'm already an engineer, I shouldn't need, you know, it should be really easy to get my ham radio license. You may notice that the first half is shorter than the second half.
Okay.
It has fewer sections.
Yeah.
There is more to know that's specific to amateur radio than there is that's just science.
Okay.
But, you know, they could still just skim that.
Yeah.
But I think it actually worked really well. I initially wrote the first draft with AI, and I've used that heavily to assist with editing. I find that AI is not nearly good enough to write a book, but it's kind of like a very gifted intern who's just slightly dumb. Because they'll make some really obvious mistakes, but once you give them the direction and you say, no, this is how I need you to fix that, and with proper project management, it really turned out very well. I was mainly planning on using this initially as something that could be online for free, that was better than nothing for people who couldn't afford a book or were too cheap to buy a book. I'm not judging. I mean, I probably fit in that category most of the time.
I'm right there too.
But it actually, I think this stands up against any other book on the market right now. There's kind of the two different extremes in the amateur radio license exam books. There's one far end where it's, let me go over all of the questions in the question pool and tell you about them. Maybe just one line about them, maybe a lot about them. Yeah. But a lot of the books, maybe even most of the books, are like that. And for me, I mean, that's what HamStudy gives you natively, and it works. But you don't have a lot of context. That would be great. You don't have a lot of context with how that works, how it ties in with everything else. Thank you. So I wanted something that connects together, and those don't always do a great job of that. Right. And at the far opposite end, you have, and I think the most classic example of this is the ARL's book. The ARL's book is fantastic. It is a font of knowledge and information enough to drown in.
It took me like almost a full 6 months to get through the book because it's so dense. I mean,
especially it's a great resource. It's a great, like, if you're trying to learn about ham radio, if you want to know more about it. But it's a lot for somebody who's just getting started. It's like there's so much information in there, you can't get through it quickly. And so I've tried to focus on providing something that's kind of a halfway point between those two, where there is, if you skim through and focus on the key information blocks and the italic areas, it tries to italicize important concepts and the key information, and then just read the questions at the end, then you'll be able to get through it actually really quickly, and then you can come back and read more later. Or you can focus more on it as you're going through to make sure that you're learning more in depth. Everyone has a different learning style, and that's fine.
And that's one thing you put in there that I liked was that QR code that opens in the app.
Yeah.
That reinforce that knowledge as you're learning it.
And if you don't have the app, again, if you're too cheap to, I know that $3.99 is a major financial commitment, and I get that. Yes. It will also open on the HamStudy website, and we need to fix a few things on that integration because, like, it might make you. Right now, I think it makes you log in, and then it forgets where it was, so then you have to scan it again. But it works, once you get through that, and it's on my to-do list. A very, very long to-do list, but so you can use the web version and the web version of the app and the book, totally free, everything. You can pay $30 on Amazon so that I can take $5 of that to get the large print version and buy the app.
Yeah.
On 4 different platforms. You can, do it however you want. The goal is just to help people get going. So I've got the technician version done. I've started on the general version. We'll see how that one goes. The funny thing is, this worked so well.
Yeah.
Now I'm nervous I'm not going to be able to live up
do
to
the
it on
other
the next
two.
one.
Yeah. The one that would be most nervous about is the extra. It's just so much more knowledge.
Yeah. Well, so we actually have an early print version of this. Like, I have a Spanish copy here.
Yeah.
I printed this on my printer.
Yeah.
After I finished using AI to translate it earlier this week.
Yeah.
And had a couple of Puerto Rican hams look over it. They're like, "Yeah, everything looks good to me." I was like, "Okay,
Well,
great,
there you
we'll
go.
print it."
Yeah.
So that's on the website. But these are the only print versions. I did something like that at at Hamcation.
Yeah. Okay.
And everybody wanted to buy one. It was like,
Yeah.
oh, I guess there's a desire for a paper copy.
Okay.
So now we've got them on Amazon, and I've done a complete round of revisions since then. And I had a couple of hams, Mitch and Norm, probably the biggest ones, who went through and just really nitpicked it to help me find things that Norm was mainly, this stuff doesn't need to be in there.
Right.
I know you find it interesting, but
Yeah,
it's not
but it's not
necessary.
necessary.
So we pulled that out. It would probably find its way into the general book.
Yeah.
But it's like the most common question was, where can I buy a paper copy? And then, well, when's the general book going to be ready? And when's the extra book going to be ready? So I'm not getting the first question anymore, but the other two have not changed.
Yeah. Well, very cool. It's great. I love this product. I'm excited to see the journal and the extra.
Awesome. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks for talking to me.